What's up, everyone? It's your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. Um, so I got a few topics we're going to talk about. Uh, Washington State has a trans bill that's going to affect a couple days. We'll talk about that. We have trans regret again that we're going to talk about. Mm, Hold on. Okay. Yeah, trans regret again. Like on Reddit or something. That we'll read another paragraph that someone wrote. Larry Nassar, who was the ex U.S. team Olympic doctor for gymnastics that sexually assaulted hundreds of women, was stabbed. Let me see. He was stabbed yesterday, or the day before. Times. Yeah, he was stabbed yesterday or the day before, whatever. Excuse me. So we'll look into that, and then we have the DC Voter ID Act. Major, uh, let's see, Marjorie Taylor Greene introduced the act, and we'll look at it and discover it. See what it is. Maybe it's something we should implement for the rest of the country. But yeah, so those are the one, two, those are the four topics we're going to talk about today. So I ain't tired. And that, yeah. So those are our four topics for today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at officialwghost. Follow me on YouTube and Rumble with Ghost. Now let's get going. Uh, so this was so back in, I don't even remember, like March or something. This bill was signed, and it goes into effect July 23rd. It looks like it's a bill that basically, if you're in Washington and your child is, goes to like that risk youth shelter, um and homeless or something like that, the state government isn't required to tell uh families that the trans the youth is seeking transgender care or something like that. That's the basic of it is that. So let's read through this article. Legislation legislations to protect transgender and youth seeking gender affirming or reproductive care passed the House on Wednesday. Senator Marco Leas, Democrat Everett, Senate Bill 5599 affirms the trans youth are protected in Washington State by removing barriers to safe shelters. This legislation gives meaningful choices to young people who may not have supportive families at home, so they do not end up on the streets, but instead have shelter options when seeking this life saving care. This legislation gives meaningful. Under the current law, licensed shelters must notify parents if a child comes into their care unless a compelling reason applies. This legislation allows licensed shelters to contact the Department of Child, Youth, and Families in lieu of the parents in certain additional instances, like when a young person is seeking reproductive health services or gender affirming care. We know that young people experience homelessness are exposed to dangerous, harmful outcomes. This is why we must take every step we can to ensure their safety. This legislation ensures that our trans youth can have safe options and access to secure, stable shelters when they may not be welcomed at home. The need for I think that means Senate Bill 5599 comes as states across the country introduce anti-LGBTQ legislation, according to the ACLU. 452 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced across 45 states, and 29 bills have passed in 14 different states. Washington has repeatedly affirmed its commitment to the LGBTQ community by passing legislations to ensure access to gender affirming care, ban conversion therapy, and require schools to adopt policies that protect transgender children from bullying. Bill now returns to the Senate, furthermore, to considerations on an amendment made by the House. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I really don't care if you're 18, legally an adult, and want to do all this crap. If you want to go and cut off your dick or whatever, sew up your vagina, I really don't care. Do you, if you're a legal adult? All I say is leave children alone. And whether you agree with it or not, unless the parent is being physically or mentally abusive, they have every right to know about, any transgendering, gender affirming care that, their kid may experience. So I vehemently disagree with this law. Absolutely, yeah. I vehemently disagree with this law. You may not like, a family that doesn't agree with the LGBTQ stuff or transgender stuff. You may not like it. You may not, you may not like it, but, families have every right to say no to whatever their kids may or may not want to do. And it's not incumbent on the government to go and it's not incumbent on the government to go and decide, hey, we really agree with this stuff, so we're just not going to tell parents about it. It's just a slippery slope to we're going to take your kids because you're not you're not gonna give your child transgender or gender affirming care or anything like that. It's not. It's if that comes into a bill at some point, sometime in the future, I would not be surprised. I think something like this, it just makes it easier for something like that further in the future, and it's a slippery slope. So I disagree with this completely. I don't think that we should be Um, we should be just going around and not telling parents when they have a right to know what's going on in their children's lives, whether you agree with their decisions or not. Families are allowed to say, "Hey, no, we're not doing this." And again, if the child becomes 18 and wants to do all that stuff, then they can legally do so, and the parents can fuck off. But you don't get to circumvent parenthood just because you really agree with transgender shit. Um, yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, now we talked about that, but we're going to go into something else. It's from Libs of TikTok, and it's an individual that regrets the doing the surgery and whatnot. And I haven't read it, so but we'll read it here today. Do it live. All right. Every day it's a flip of coin whether I'm able to get through the. Okay, sorry. It's been almost a year and I'm still highly suicidal and hate my life. Is the title. Every day is a flip of a coin whether I'm able to get through the day with somewhat normally, or whether I'm staying in bed. Or whether I'm staying in bed suffering almost the whole day. I still can't understand why I was allowed to go on T. I assuming that means testosterone at the age of 15. Like I said, or like I said in the description, I think this is like a transgender male. And when I say transgender male, I think that means female to male. So a female that decided to become a male. I was allowed to go on T at the age of 15, and I have two. I assume it's supposed to be TWO, meaning the number two surgery, and have two surgeries at the age of 17. Makes no sense to me, and I'm starting to go insane because I don't understand how anyone can think that what happened to me and other children is all right. How can any adult think that a child or teenager can make such a decision? It doesn't go in my head. I'm miserable. I had an amazing life ahead of me, and I got it destroyed. People tell me to accept what happened and talk about radical acceptance, but what if I do not want to accept what happened? Either way, or either I want my old life back, or I don't know if I want to live at all anymore. I was never suicidal before my transition, and still I was told it's being trans or death. I feel lied to. I wasn't in a place to make such a life altering, irreversible decision. I wonder why me? Why did this happen? Why did no one save me? I would never wish this on anyone else, but I still wonder why my sisters are allowed to keep it all and it was taken away from me. I wasn't so afraid of the act of killing myself. If there was an easy, painless method at my hands right now, I'm pretty sure I'd be gone. I don't have many reasons to live. My family might be sad at first, but after all, I'm such a burden on them. They would be better off without me. I'd probably do them a favor. So, like I said, I believe this is a. Oh, sorry. I believe this is a female to male. Um, I think it is. I could be absolutely wrong, but that's what I think it is. So she started transitioning. She got on testosterone at 15 and had two surgeries by age 18 at age 17. So well before legal age, being 18, an adult. And she is apparently highly suicidal, which is sad. I don't think anyone should be, considering suicide. Suicide's a very cowardly act, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, um, and this is something we've really, don't really talk about is the fact that now she says she wasn't suicidal prior to transitioning, and now she is now. And she is, suicidal now after transitioning. But um, it's interesting because when we talk about this, people always bring up like the suicide rate and all that stuff. But what they fail to even look up or understand is after transitioning, the suicide rate doesn't really get that much better. It's generally still, it just only gets like marginally better, like a couple percentage points, like one or two or three. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a very low number that actually get better after transitioning. Most of them are still just as suicidal prior to transitioning. And, people say, oh, it's because they're not accepted even after going with surgery, blah, 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 blah. I don't agree with that. I don't agree that it's because I think it's just the fact that they're still that they go through and it's generally a very permanent situation. Um, and it's really hard, or I don't even think it's possible to reverse after you go through it all. Especially for guys, uh, it's not possible to to take it back. It's not possible to regrow a penis or anything like that. Um, and I think late, after a couple years, or in this case, this uh, chick's, almost been a year. Um, and there's a giant regret, and that's why the suicide rate's still extremely high, even in individuals that go that transition, which is generally thought of as the cure for gender dysphoria or anything like that. Is hey, transition, and then you'll be all cured. Um, and we're seeing a couple. I read an article like this earlier. Again, this is on Reddit, so you don't really know the full authenticity, but hey, we'll go off it. We'll go off of it as yes, this is real. Um, sorry, brain fart. Well, that's what we'll go with. Like, hey, this is real. Um, so we don't really, and the article before, same thing, was a bit regret. There's been a few videos out there of people who transitions and saying they regret. And I think it's largely ignored. Uh, so I mean, we should be really looking at this and understanding it, and it's really sad. It's like I said, this is a permanent solution to what generally seems like to be a temporary problem. Um, yeah, it's ridiculous, and this is why I have issues with kids under the age of 18, kids, to make such a drastic life decision, because most of the time it's just it's a feeling and a whim type stuff with kids. They want to be accepted, so they oh no, I'm transgender is a new fad. So I think a lot, if not all, of teenage, probably a majority, let's go with that, like 90%, 95% of kids, this stuff, it's transgender stuff, it's a fad. It's like the new fashion or whatever. And once the fad dies out, you'll see a lot of these people like rushing back into their, back to who they were before. But yeah. So that's limited TikTok, and it was a fairly sad article. I hope they don't commit suicide and they just learn to live with what they did. But it's hard. It's really hard. This is a very permanent decision. Who knows what will happen. All right, next topic. Probably not gonna do like super long. If I get 30 minutes, I'll be fairly happy because I'm exhausted per usual. All right, ex-team USA gymnastic doctor Larry Nassar stabbed multiple times in prison. I'm so sad. Not. Child molester Larry Nassar was stabbed multiple times in the federal prison where he was sent to rot for sexually assaulting hundreds of gymnastics, including gold medal winners, Olympians. So sad. No, that's what we call prison justice. It's what everyone really hopes for when someone goes to prison and they're, a pedophile. You see them to get stabbed in prison. Nassar was stabbed twice in the neck, twice in the back, and 6 times in the chest in the Sunday afternoon attack in the Federal Correction Complex Coleman in Central Florida, union officials told the Post. He was listed in stable condition despite suffering collapse lung, said local 506 President Joe Rojas, a New York native who worked at the prison for nearly 30 years. He is lucky to be alive, Rojas said of the notorious pedophile. If it wasn't for the staff who were there, he wouldn't be with us today. Damn, so close. Oh, excuse me. Still, the union leader stressed that while Nassar was listed as being in stable conditions, that could change given that he appears to have been hit in vital organs with what was likely an unsanitized makeshift metal weapon. He's not out of the woods yet. Those are serious injuries, Rojas said. So far, it's unclear how it happened or why it happened, the union president said, while noting that notorious pedophile usually only mingles with other sex offenders. Well, I mean, just because they are sex offenders doesn't mean, a rapist wouldn't have a problem with a child molester. Just saying. He's in a special unit where he doesn't socialize with the normal population. He's already been here since 2018. We've never had an incident with him before, he said. However, it came just 2 weeks after staff protest over alarming levels of understaffing, which Rojas said was prophetic of such an attack. We said this was going to happen, he said. Oh, excuse me. Federal Bureau of Prisons confirmed to the Post that an inmate was assaulted at the prison just after 2:30 p.m. Sunday, but declined to identify him over privacy and security concerns. Okay, so this happened Sunday, so the 9th. Responding staff immediately initiated life-saving measures, Bureau spokesperson Donald Murphy said. Inmate was transferred by emergency personnel at a local hospital for further treatment and evaluation. The FBI was notified and internal investigation is ongoing, said Murphy, who refused to discuss who was responsible for the attack inside the highly secured prison that houses more than 1,200 male inmates. No staff or other inmates were injured, and at no time was the public in danger, the spokesperson said. The attack was first reported by the Associated Press, which cited 2 sources. It prompted Nassar's first known victim to release a statement, which called on prison officials to better protect Nassar so he can face the severe prison sentence he received and avoid an easy way out. This assault on Nassar brings no peace to me personally or to the survivors I spoke with today, said Sarah Klein, who is now a civil and trial attorney that represents sexual abuse victims. The incident forces us to relive our abuse and trauma at the hands of Nassar and the Institute, including law enforcement that protect them and allowed them to prey on children. I urge the Department of Justice and Bureau of Prisons to see that Nassar is not allowed to escape his sentence and consequences of his horrible crimes. More than 300 girls and women, including Olympians like Ali Reisman and Simone Bills, accused the former Michigan State University sports doctor of sexually abusing him under the guise of medical treatment in a pattern of horrendous abuse that stretches back decades. He eventually admitted sexually assaulting athletes at the university and U.S. gymnastics, which trains Olympians. The abuse led to 3 separate prison sentences, state and federal trials. Michelle Judge Rosemary Aquilian even told Nassar it was her honor and privilege to sentence him to 40 to 175 years in prison in January 2018. Okay, so I don't know. One of these 2 women is Ali Rizam and Simone Bills. I'm just going to take a shot in guard. Maybe these 2 or these 2. I just signed your death warrant, she told. You do not deserve to walk outside of prison ever again. More than 65 women then gave impact statements during a separate trial in which Nassar got a 40 to 125 year sentence for abusing young girls at the Twist Stars Gymnastics Club in Dimmadale, Michigan. During the trial, a raging father whose 3 daughters said they were all molested by Nassar tried to attack him in court after asking for 5 minutes in the locker room with this demon. Nassar was also sentenced to 60 years in federal prisons on child pornography charges. During his sentencing in that case, District Judge Janet Niff said that the predator should never again have access to children. He is listed to be eligible for release from federal prison in January 30th, 2068, when he would be 104. If still alive, he would then die in state prisons on the other charges. Michigan State Police arrested him in 2016, but the university accused of many missed opportunities to detain a predator and agreed to a $500 million settlement with his victims. USA Gymnastics and U.S. Olympic and Paralympic committees also agreed to a $380 million settlement for failing to protect their young athletes from Nassar. It is kind of funny that the university was accused. Oh, okay. Well, the university was accused of missing men and opportunity. Okay, never mind. I didn't read that correctly. All right, so that's that on that subject. Yeah, it's a garbage human being. Yeah, honestly, don't really give a shit whether he lives or dies. Apparently, a lot of the victims want him to suffer and live through. Basically serve the sentence and live in a cage for the rest of his life, which is well within right. I think, child molesters, rapists, they should all be, castrated or, killed. That's my opinion. I think the best option is castration and, sent to prison afterwards. Because, they'll be stuck in prison. But how miserable would you be if you're a dude and you don't have your dick anymore? I'm just saying. I think that would be, a proper punishment, and that would just torture someone, especially someone that, clearly likes having, sex, even if he has to force it. Garbage human being, this is. So, yeah, but these victims want him to, live and so he can suffer and serve his remaining sentences. You know what? That's well within their right. That's what they want. And hey, I really have no issues with that whatsoever. But yeah, he got stabbed a lot. It looks like it's probably going to be like a sex offender that did it. I am assuming, it's just my opinion, that it was probably, like a rapist or, something like that. I don't know what other sex offenders are in those type of prisons. I don't think it's going to be someone that, peed while drunk at a school park, but I don't know. Um, so it was probably, one of those guys who has a problem with people touching their kids or kids in general. And, it's very popular in prisons. That's why there's a special unit. That's why, rapists, child molesters, etc., they go into a special unit so they don't mix with the general population. Otherwise, they would be killed in a second. Well, the second someone found out why they're in prison. Okay. Just making sure. All right. So, this article is read Marjorie Taylor is Washington Examiner. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to ban illegal immigrants from voting in D.C. area. Well, okay. Just, the way this title is written makes me think that the Washington Examiner thinks that's a bad thing to ban illegal immigrants for voting in the D.C. area. I don't think illegal immigrants should vote at all. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but hey, you're not a citizen of the United States. You don't get to vote. Like, what the fuck? Especially if you come in illegally. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican Georgia, introduced legislation on Thursday that would require voters' identifications in Washington, D.C., preventing illegal immigrants and legal non-citizens from voting in local elections. Again, why is that a problem? If you're not a citizen, why should you have the right to vote on various things when, you're not a legal citizen? Like, what the hell? The ban, titled the Americans' Confidence in Elections District of Columbia Voter Identification Act, aims to amend the Help America Vote Act of 2002, which mandated updated voting standards for state and local government over 20 years ago. The newly introduced bill, if passed, would establish certain photo identification requirements for voting in District of Columbia elections and to require proof of citizenship to register and to vote in District of Columbia elections and for other purposes, according to the copy of the legislations. Daily Caller first reported the story. Only American citizens should vote in American elections, Green said. That's why I introduced the Districts of Columbia Voter Identification Act to safeguard elections integrity by implementing mandatory photo voter ID and ensure only American citizens are casting ballots by instituting a citizenship requirement for voter registrations, Green told the Daily Caller. Representative Claudia Tenney, Republican New York, and Representative Gregory Stubbe, Republican Florida, co-sponsored the bill. Not only will this force D.C. Board of Elections to ensure only American citizens vote in our nation's capital, this would set a standard precedent for the rest of countries to follow. The Republican lawmakers was designed to address the Capital Local Resident Voting Rights Amendment Act of 2022, which would qualify illegal immigrants and legal non-citizens as eligible voters in the Washington area, D.C. area. The act was passed by the District Council in late 2022 and sent to Congress in January. Representative Chip Roy, Republican Texas, Senator Ted Cruz, Republican Texas, previously banned to introduce legislation that would accomplish the same goal as Green's bill, albeit from a different angle. The Republican bill, if signed into law, would restrict the district government use of federal funds for allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections. According to the Washington Post, there are 50,000 non-citizens living in D.C. area. So that's the act. I don't think any of this is a problem. If you think it's a problem, you're a very weird individual, because why would you want someone who's not a citizen to determine the president or uh, government officials or anything like that in your state. Like they're not citizens. It's if you're not citizen, then you don't get a right to vote. I don't understand why something like this is such a controversial topic. Like it's so ridiculous. Like how come it's so bad that we're like, hey, if you want to vote here in this great country, you gotta be a U.S. citizen and you gotta prove it. I mean, there's several countries that vote that have it. People who aren't residents of the of this country don't get a vote. Like, I don't understand why that's controversial. It's always controversial because, like, what the hell? I really don't get it. I think it's I just don't understand, like, what's the problem with voter ID? And people always get racial on it and say, hey, if you do voter ID, it would limit the black population from voting. And I'm paraphrasing what they say, but what they generally are pretty much stating is black people are too stupid to get an ID, and they're too broke to get an ID. That's what they're generally saying, in my opinion. They're not actually, that's what I think they're really saying. It's the same with when the affirmative action came out, and there was that white chick that was like, hey, in a merit-based society, black people won't be able to compete because apparently black people are incompetent, in her opinion. It's the same thing with this voter ID. I think the voter ID would just like, I don't get why it's such a big deal. Like, if voter ID is not that hard to get, it wouldn't be that hard to get. A lot of states that require voter ID, it's either free or it's a very low amount. So the cost isn't a pain in the ass, and then they'll make the argument, well, it's hard to get to a DMV or something like that, or DOL or whatever it is. And it's like, well, I mean, is it really? I mean, most black people live in suburbs, and there's several different DMVs and whatnot. In a rural area, a farmer might have a greater problem getting a voter ID than a black person would. So it just depends on the area. But again, I don't understand how this topic is so controversial. Like, what's the problem with ensuring the integrity of our elections and making sure people that aren't legal citizens can vote? I think it's because the Democrats are banking on the non-citizens vote, and the second they get that vote, they lose that, they start losing more elections. That's my opinion. I could be 100% wrong with that, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, I just don't understand, really. Maybe I'm just too stupid. All right, we're gonna watch one. We got one more thing. Got a little bit of time. One more thing. I don't even know where this happened. Where did this happen? Did it say? Okay, what's wrong with it? No, it didn't say. All right, so this is a DoorDash guy. He got jumped when he went into the hood. I think that was a description. I'm not being racist here. Okay. I remember seeing this and it said that, so I don't know. Oh well, maybe I'm just racist. All right, so basically, this Uber driver, DoorDash person, whatever, came to deliver some food, and it's for some reason ended up getting his ass kicked by a bunch of black people. And then they stole his car.
They got his car. They stole his car. They got right. Oh shit. Oh shit. Sorry,
All right, so that's the video. Now, obviously, we don't got any information on this, right? Obviously. So we don't know the full context. We don't know, maybe the driver did something that caused this attack or whatever. I doubt it. Here's why. Here's why I doubt it. Because, like, I don't know, maybe he just said the wrong thing or whatever. But hey, it doesn't matter if he said anything. The fact that, a bunch of dudes just decided to kick the shit out of him and then steal his car doesn't, whatever he said doesn't justify this response. I don't know. But, what's going to end up happening? DoorDash, Ubers, whatever. Their drivers are going to refuse to deliver to these areas. And then we'll get the DoorDash is racist, Uber's racist, blah blah. They don't, they won't deliver to black neighborhoods, and it's because they're racist. No, it's because you go and you kick the ass of their drivers, and their drivers are like, hey, we're not gonna tolerate this shit. We're not gonna tolerate it. You can fuck off. If you're going to attack our drivers, we're not going to deliver to you. And I think that's well within their right. I'm just changing my description for YouTube. But yeah, it's just wrong. It really is. Like the fact that you're gonna go and attack someone just because for whatever reason. Whatever. All right, it's not gonna let me do it. Never mind. It's not a big deal. Anyways, so I can't see any actual justification for this. If you're gonna beat the shit out of someone just because whatever, just because I don't know. I think it's just dumb. It's just dumb, and it's a bad look for any black community members. Is all people are gonna see is a bunch of black people beating up on a guy and then stealing his car. Like there's nothing you can say really to justify this, especially if he's just a guy delivering food. And that's what it always be. Now maybe something comes out later on, and it's like, oh no, he was saying the N word the entire time. I don't think so. And even if he was, the best thing to do would be to record him doing it, and then send it to DoorDash and like, hey, this employee is spouting and calling us racial slurs, or any shit like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just dumb. I mean, these fuckers are idiots. They're just gonna go and beat some guy up, just whatever. It just they might have a good reason. It just looks just cause. That's how I feel. Hold on. Okay. So there we go. That's why. Anyways, so that's all I got for you guys today. I'm exhausted, so I'm gonna go to bed again. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you looked at some stuff, learned some few things. But yeah, I hope you all have a good day. Make sure you follow me at official W Ghost, and then follow me on Rumble and YouTube with Ghost. Best ways to follow me. Best ways to get up to date on whatever I'm doing is going to be official W Ghost on the Twitter. So follow me there. I hope you have a good day. Peace out.